Welcome back to the Man Cave, everybody, for episode 75. 75, Len. That's a big number. What'd you get
That's
me?
a huge number.
Listen, of the ManTFup Podcast, I'm Kimmy B.
And Lenny.
And before we go any further, please like, subscribe, share, and follow. We are on absolutely every podcast streaming platform, also all social media. And make sure as you're watching the episode, whether it's via a clip on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, wherever, or the full YouTube episode, please drop your comments as you see things that just make you mad, piss you off, encourage a little insight and or thought-provoking. We love to hear from you. Today we're talking cancel culture, one of your favorite topics, Lenny. It's actually probably the number one reason you wanted to start this podcast. That and politics, like we're like the two big things on your list.
Which we hardly ever discuss, but yes.
What, cancel
politics.
culture? Do we really hardly ever discuss
I don't
politics?
think we discuss it too much, but whatever.
We don't get into sidage, but we talk about things that are happening. Today we're talking about cancel culture, though. As you know, every once in a while we'll pull episode inspo from things that are happening in pop culture. I'm a radio personality. It's a big part of my life. And one of the big stories of the fourth quarter, I guess you could call it, of 2023 has been the Britney Spears tell-all memoir called The Woman in Me. She literally, do you know this? She smashed the Guinness World Record for most book pre-sales.
No, I don't know any of this.
For like an autobiography or
Unlike
whatever.
you, it's not part of my daily routine.
9 million copies.
Ooh.
The person who initially set the record was Prince Harry with 3 million. So people wanted to know. This is my point to you. People wanted to know what really happened all those years ago that led to the downward spiral of Britney Spears and her reemergence as the Instagram twirl queen. You know what I'm saying? And we got it. Britney spilled all the tea. She gave us all the deets on her and Justin, so much so that he hopped the first thing smoking in Mexico and has not come back yet. He's been laying very, very low because he was painted in a not so nice light, as we got the other side of the story for once. But a good friend of his, Timbaland, who is one of the foremost producers, in particular from like the late 90s, 2000s era. He's incredible. He's a musical genius. Well respected, has been kind of making the rounds again because he's back on the scene. He actually just recently did a track with Nelly Furtado and Justin Timberlake. And so he's been doing interviews, and he was sitting on a panel. And this happened. I'm going to play the clip for you because it's just better when he says it. That's not it. Hang on, I got to back it up. You couldn't hear what he said. Basically, the guy was letting Timbaland know that one of his songs with Justin Timberlake is going viral, Cry Me a River, because of the Britney memoir. And before he can even get out a question, Timbaland jumps in like he's been waiting to comment on this topic and says, "She going crazy," which is, what people have been saying about Britney for the better part of 2 decades. At this point, she was under a conservatorship and whatever. And then he says, "I wanted to call my man JT and tell him, yo, you need to put a muzzle on your girl." Sir, it is 2023. We are not muzzling anyone. And I know, Lenny, you're like, what's wrong with what he said? I mean, if that's how he felt.
No.
The issue is this. We're talking about a young woman who, especially at that point in time, was discussing the fact that she was kind of coerced into having an abortion. They were pregnant. He didn't want to keep it, he being Justin Timberlake. So she's sharing this story for the first time. Nobody had ever heard this before. She had the abortion at her house. Then they proceed to break up. All the blame was levied onto her. She was looked as the cheating harlot, and she never said anything bad about him. And I'm not blaming this on men solely. It was a very different time. It's not that long ago, but it was a very different time, especially in entertainment. I mean, women are still savage to one another, but back then, female journalists, Barbara Walters, Oprah, I'm trying to think, who's the other, not Barbara, you know who I'm talking about. She's, oh my goodness, she's incredible. And I'm not going to remember her name, and I don't know why. But she did an interview with her, and she just dragged this girl. Like, you could see she was on the brink of tears. You know what I mean? She was like, it's kind of slutty what you did. And don't you ever feel bad that you're a role model to all of these young girls? Just all of that, right? Meanwhile, Justin Timberlake is out here living his best life, making music videos with Britney lookalikes, portraying her as just a cheating hooker. And it was, we saw what that did to her. We all watched it. And not only did we watch it, we fed into it. We lived for it. that was the start of the TMZ era. We got the video of her shaving her head in the barbershop, the crazed look in her eye as she slammed an umbrella into, a paparazzi's window. We watched her get taken out of her home on an ambulance, on a gurney and put into an ambulance. Then she ends up in a conservatorship. The point is, to then go on stage after she has just kind of had this cathartic release and has finally found her voice and told her side of the story. Obviously, there's three sides, his, hers, and then whatever really happened in the middle.
Wondering about the muzzle your bitch thing.
But first of all,
it's not his bitch anymore.
Exactly. Secondly, it's 2023. We had a whole thing called the Me Too movement. As a person of power in the music industry, getting on the stage and saying you should muzzle your girl, who, to your point, has not been your girl for 20 years, but was very clearly muzzled for a very long time. It's just a testament to, the fact that it wasn't just one Timbaland back then. It was an entire industry of Timbalands, and they were able to do exactly that, silence this girl. But it was so out of pocket. It was so unnecessary, and it was so how he felt. He is of that generation. That is exactly how he felt in that moment. But of course, the internet responded more like me and less like Lenny, in the sense of like, what the fuck is your problem, bro? Like, again, not his girl, and she's just speaking her truth. Like, Justin is the one who might need a fucking muzzle, or needed a muzzle 15 years ago when he was making the interview rounds. But of course, the point is, we're talking about cancel culture. He felt the heat, and within 24 hours, issued an apology. And I'm calling bullshit. Yeah. I'm so over.
Well, the internet muzzled his bitch.
Well, yeah, he's the bitch. I told him he should have gotten on that plane with Justin and maybe gone missing in Mexico for a little bit. But the point is, I don't want your apology. And neither does Britney, because she took to social media and was like, yeah, I'm not accepting. Which, good for her. You don't have to. But stop caving. Stop caving to the pressure of social media, because you said what you said. Stand in that for a minute and let it marinate, bro. Because it just seems so disingenuous. If you think for a second anybody believes that you're so sorry for saying what you said, that is, watched the manner in which you said it, heard the tone with which you delivered it, he was waiting to say that. That is 100% how he feels about her. And he's already had issues with her from back in the 2000s when she refused to work with him and instead worked with his protege. He was salty about it back then. He's clearly still salty about it in 2023. And he took this moment to to crack on her. And it was funny because he's like, but that's what we need to do. We all need to go viral, right? Bitch, you the one that needs to go viral. You just released a song that nobody's playing. Shut up. She's got the biggest selling book in a decade, outside of Harry Potter probably, and is everywhere. She didn't need to go viral. She goes viral every time she gets on Instagram and twirls like a lunatic. I'm not saying but we live for it. It's you know what I mean? We all the people who love her. She's got millions of followers and millions of dollars. She's doing all right. You know what I'm saying? But I'm tired of the disingenuous apologies. I don't want to hear it anymore. I'm not a Trump fan, but the one thing that I will commend him for, he doesn't apologize for shit. He didn't apologize for grabbing by the pussy. He didn't apologize for shithole countries. He didn't apologize for calling every Latino a rapist, murderer, or drug dealer. He didn't apologize for it. He said it. He might try to say something else so that you forget he said it. You know what I'm saying? But he's not apologizing for it. He's not walking it back. And at the end of the day, at least I know where you stand. You know what I mean? Tim, you're a misogynist. It's cool. That doesn't mean I dislike your music that you made that I love, or that you're any less of a musical genius. You're just also a dick.
Yeah, you know what I think a big part of this cancel culture, which I'm totally not about because I'm all of freedom of speech, but the having people oppose you versus having corporations and platforms oppose you, it becomes a different level of cancel culture. They're doing it to, what's his name? What's the guy's name? The English one that was married to Katy Perry. What's his name?
Russell Brand.
Yeah. He's getting blasted now because he's been speaking out for whatever he believes in. And he's charged with sexual assault and some wild shit. It's amazing. Everybody who speaks out gets charged with sexual assault. It happens. From 25 years ago. It's not like this happened yesterday. But
the incident that he was charged with was more recent. But I mean, you're talking about
I'm just talking about in general the cancel culture stuff. He just happened to be an example that I brought up. But even like, well, I mean, uncancelable seems to be Rogan, because Rogan's very.
But again, do you know why? Because we know where you stand, Joe. Like, and the people that don't fuck with him don't have. And there's a lot of us who listen, whether I with everything Joe Rogan says or not. You know you're the sum of all parts. There's a saying, and it's about like the sum of all.
Yeah, but
all
the biggest
parts.
problem people have had with it, and I've had with it, is that the cancellation off of platforms, off of Twitter, off of TikTok, off of Facebook, off of Instagram, off of YouTube. That I think is more of an uproar than.
How many people are getting kicked off of those platforms? Not a lot. Not a lot. This is more of a, like, I'm just saying this is a pervasive part of our culture now. Like, I don't want to talk about it from a business perspective. This is called Man the Fuck Up. And I would like for people to just start manning the fuck up. And especially our celebrities and our politicians and folks who just say left field, out of pocket shit that deep down inside is how you truly feel. Like, if we could all be a little bit more honest with each other. First of all, who's really getting canceled though? Like, really and truthfully, who is really getting canceled? Bud Light's still out there despite all the angry people. They've moved on. They've got some football players endorsing their you know what I mean? It's football season now. We're back to blue-blooded American shit, right? Like, we had our moments.
We lost $3 billion, but we're good.
And they'll make it back. And they'll make it back. They're not. We didn't get rid of Bud, but on the flip side of that, we also didn't get rid of Joe Rogan. You know what I'm saying? With all the crazy, wild shit he said, he's still here, thriving, making millions of dollars. And it's funny because my producer Kai actually says, "I don't believe in cancel culture. Like, who have we really canceled? Like, really and truthfully, who have we canceled?"
Yeah, but it's the fear of it. And yes, I think there's been a lot of comedians that have changed their tone because of.
Not Dave Chappelle.
Well,
Not Dave Chappelle. And he's still out here making millions.
I like Burr myself.
I don't know who
What's
that
his
is.
name? Burr? Last name? What's his first name? Bill Burr. Never heard of him?
That is.
He's pretty funny. But there's a nervousness that you're going to get taken down off of Instagram, or you're going to get taken down off of, because a lot of these platforms are now paying these people because they're gleaming an audience. And it's like, let's say they're not going to get canceled, but they're going to get throttled. They're going to get this. It's put a fear into them.
Okay, but guess what? So then if that's the case and you're fearful of these things, mind your words. Mind your words.
Yeah, but now you can't speak your piece.
Well, no, but my point is, so either mind your words or own your shit.
That's
because what you're doing is we're now creating a culture where you can partake in bad behavior and then come behind with a disingenuous apology and all is forgiven. So like you're minimizing what should be an actual, a moment of sincere
Someone
reflection.
expressing their feelings should not necessarily be constituted as bad behavior.
Well, no, but
in their,
But to me it is. What he said. So
to you it is, which you don't ever have to listen to him.
But but Lenny, no. Here's the deal. Again, me not listening to him ever again because he said put a muzzle on Britney Spears. I need to man the fuck up. I love his music. So what I'm saying to you is, I don't have to respect you as a man. Mm-hmm. I don't have to respect you, like in with regards to how you feel about women, because you're a misogynist and you clearly don't respect us. If you can say something like put a muzzle on your girl because she's just telling her truth, her side of the story, and it's dragging your boy, you clearly prioritize your man's relationship or your man's reputation over hers.
Bros before hoes.
There you go. And so, and on the flip side of that, I can say, you're a dick. And I can get on the radio and say, you're a dick and stand by it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean I don't like your music, right? Because I can separate between the two. I gave a very clear example, though, of where I won't separate, and that is R. Kelly. I legitimately will not separate a predator from their music.
Absolutely.
Because it makes it a little bit more difficult to listen to his lyrics and think, was this written about a 13-year-old? You know what I'm saying? I'm not okay with that.
About Pee-wee.
Pee-wee Herman, rest in peace. He's gone. I wasn't not a big Pee. I don't think I ever really fucked with Pee Wee after all the stuff happened. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, did you boycott Big Adventure?
Big Adventure came out before, didn't it?
Yeah, so long before.
Yeah.
Still.
But it wasn't like a fave of mine, so I didn't go back to it. But
Still
no,
do the tequila dance?
but I used to.
Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
Listen, my man, he's gone. Let's not talk about people who are dead because I don't want to disrespect the dead. But I don't know. Like again, the Donald Trump thing, I can commend him for just never backing down. It's like if you're a racist, if you're a neo, I would rather know. I would rather know exactly where and don't all of a sudden go, oh, my bad, I didn't realize that was offensive. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, bro. Like, no.
Well, in today's day and age, anything could be offensive. I watched the whole thing about, someone not calling someone by their pronouns, and that is offensive to that person. Mm-hmm. But that's that person's problem. That's not society's problem. So, yes, you can feel that this is offensive or that is offensive and this is offensive. Again.
But like I said, but I would rather know, like, Len, that I feel like you are a bit of a douchebag with certain feelings that you have. In particular,
a total
when it comes to...
I might be considered misogynistic by women.
Yeah, you might be.
In some cases.
Sure.
I mean, there's whatever. It is what it is.
No, but my point is, because I know you, I know that one part of you doesn't speak for all of you, right? Like, and I know that my interaction with you is not one where I experience blatant misogyny. I feel like when we sit on this couch and we have conversations that I'm given respect and whatever, right? So if I were to sit down and interview Timbaland, maybe my feelings would change about him. In this moment right now, I think he's a dick. And I would rather him just own that that's how he felt. Like,
and meanwhile, they were both kids, and things like that happen when you're kids, and they were in a spoiled brat environment. So, they were not only just kids, they were, a lot of shit happens.
Okay. Coercing your girlfriend to have an abortion, like, she also...
And that's also one side. Coercing.
Again,
versus...
we never heard about it. No. She specifically said, I would not have done it. If it was up to me, I would not have done it. He was adamant about not wanting to be a father. And that's one of those things when you're 20 and in love.
That goes back to...
No, but it was big. But to me, Lenny, you can't say they're in a spoiled brat situation. They were in a crack the whip. Like, no, but it speaks volumes. No.
Goes back to what's her name who
Lenny,
did that scene.
You don't get to speak as a female right now. Please stop, because as a woman who works in the industry, what I'm telling you is Timbaland is just a reflection of what society was and still is in some ways. You and Tim would probably be great friends. I'm sure you would kiki over a drink. Have you done
anything in your life you regretted?
Of course, but that's not my point. My point is, when we talk about this particular conversation, the bigger issue that I have with it is the fact that as a woman, she was painted in a certain light because she was a female. And at that time, all of the big wigs running the studios, whether it was her record label, TV, she comes from the Disney. You know how many women were silenced, how many young girls were silenced over sexual assaults, mistreatment on set, especially from that era, because they were women. And it was like, hey, you either put up or shut up. You know what I'm saying? You either get with the program or we'll find somebody else to do your job for you. When you're manufactured in that way and you come through that machine and your career is being dangled above you and you're a girl, the stakes are completely different. And that is a great example. We've talked about it ad nauseum on the show just because it's literally two sides of the coin. How he came out of that situation versus how she did. I mean, this girl went into a mental downward spiral. We watched her implode. Her entire life fell apart. She's managed to have a comeback. She's done her Vegas stuff. You know what I mean? She's had super successful tours after that. But there will always be asterisks next to Britney Spears with the head shaving, again, the barefoot in the public restroom at the gas, like at the rest area stop. Like, she was a running joke, the paparazzi shots of her hoo-ha getting out of the car with Paris Hilton and Lindsay Lohan. Like, women were fodder for jokes, and to pretend like that doesn't impact somebody's mental health, the shit that we said about Paris Hilton, the shit that we said about Lindsay Lohan. And I get that. I 100% get that as a celebrity, you sign up for certain things. But we've learned over time the impact that has on people's mental health and what they're struggling with behind the scenes. Like, we've learned that, and it's why we had a Me Too movement, and it's why people are a little bit more conscientious of the things that we say and of people's mental. People have killed themselves over less. So to me, Britney is a soldier to have made it through. And again, like I said, women were responsible for a huge part of that. Her fan base and Justin's fan base were the same. And when we heard that she cheated on Justin, they turned their back on her because they were, you know what I mean? Bros before hoes. Bros before hoes. Like, women feel the same way too, unfortunately. So to me, him saying that, and I know you want to take his side, like, it's just a testament to a bigger conversation.
I don't want to take his side. I want to take the side of adults, which, you know, if you're going to be,
you can't say they were kids and then that they're adults.
They were kids compared to now. They were in their 20s, but theoretically they were adults. And, you know, as an adult, you make decisions. You know, if you're coerced, if you're not, every person that goes out for a job, every person is coerced into taking a job by their salary.
Lenny, you'll never be a pregnant girl with looking down the barrel of that decision. You'll never understand that. You'll never know what that is.
No.
And you'll never know what it is to come from a family. You know, at that time, they weren't as dysfunctional as they are now. Like, that's all she ever wanted to be, was a mother. Like, she'll tell you that she said that repeatedly. She couldn't wait. There was that whole stigma of her needing to be a virgin and all of these things, and you're a role model to little girls. They were fucking like, get out of here. You don't show up to red carpets in matchy-matchy denim outfits and you're not having sex. Get out of here. Like, you know what I mean? We all know that now as adults, looking back, as people who have gone through that, like, but that was part of her entire, you know, her whole mystique. That was what they packaged her as, you know, the girl next door, America's sweetheart. And so she's dealing with this, and he's looking at her. This is the love of her. This is her 20-year-old first love. I lost my, you know, whatever, all of these things. And he tells you, I don't want to have a baby. And she wants to, and he's like, absolutely not. And in those situations, a lot of young girls succumb to that pressure. You know what I'm saying? Had she been 5 or 6 years older, had she been through a little bit more stuff, who knows? She was what, 20? Do you know what I mean? Still being controlled by her dad, by her label, by Disney, by all of these people who had their hand in the pot. You know what I'm saying? And now this person that you trust with everything, she thought they were going to get married, all of these things, which it's young love. I'm sure that was the conversation. But they're also both on the brink of a ridiculous level of superstardom or in it. Like, that's difficult for anybody. You throw pregnancy in the mix, you throw hormones in the mix, you throw the stress of a breakup and all of this into it. It's just not a good situation. So the fact that fast forward 20 years, knowing everything that this woman has been through, as a person who works so closely with artists, could sit up there on a stage and then say, put a muzzle on your girl. Like, he's in the wrong. It's time for him to pay the piper. Like, he went on a radio tour, Len, post their breakup, dragging the shit out of her, talking about their sex life when she was, again, supposed to be a virgin. They were never supposed to have had sex. He had no problem discussing that. He's also the guy who got Janet Jackson banned from, like, cable television for a decade after he ripped her top off during the Super Bowl. You know, now you think how silly is that? We've got Meg Thee Stallion and Cardi B literally singing WAP on the stage, you know, at the Grammys in 2022. So we've come a long way, folks. But he never had to answer for that. You know what I mean? So people are just talking about the fact that he's problematic, but that wasn't just Justin. That was the industry in general and has been for a very long time. Women have always borne the brunt of the scandal. Always. Like JFK and Marilyn Monroe. He's Camelot. She's the pill popping hooker. We love her, but you know what I'm saying? She was the one messing with a married man. Not he's the president fucking around with Marilyn Monroe. She's the person, you know what I'm saying? So it's just a testament to where we're at. So as far as that goes, he believes that. He believes JT, somebody should put a muzzle on her. Like, that's the generation that he's from. And that still exists. And own it. Don't come around 18 hours later because Missy Elliott got in your ear and said you need to apologize and the internet is mad at you and you got a single out that you want to be played on the radio and say, oh, I'm so sorry. I mean, no, but you did. It's cool. Like, at the end of the day, you're an incredible producer. You're a musical genius. And again, I said all of this on the radio today. You're just a douchebag. But it doesn't take away from your musical contributions. You know what I'm saying? You're just a dick. Like, you're an old head, misogynistic, like, you just come from the old school. And I came up in that. You know what I mean? So I'm very aware that that is how people think. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that younger people, right, don't necessarily grasp that there's still a large portion of society that feels that way.
Very large.
Yeah. But every time you come behind something like that and you say, I'm sorry, and it appeases them.
I get it.
It's the rude awakening, right? It's the rude awakening when you watch people marching on Charlottesville with torches, right? Like, if you try to shield folks from that, right, and pretend like it doesn't exist, or then somebody tries to come behind it and apologize for it or say, oh, well, that wasn't really what it was. You know, nah, say what it is. Say who you are. Say what you stand for. I'm so tired of the like, especially when it's part of who you are. Like, I don't think Timbaland's getting canceled. Like, people are mad at him. He's got millions anyway. It's called royalties. He's always gonna be all right. But it's frustrating and really and truthfully, who are we canceling? Because we take them back.
Yeah.
We take them back. Who have we canceled? You tried to give me somebody.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who.
Kid Rock hasn't been canceled because at the end of the day, there's always people who feel like you do.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
So living in these silos, pretending like we don't disagree about things or we don't still have people that are, you know, operating from a place of bigotry or misogyny or, you know, some sort of phobia or superiority complex or whatever, like pretending like that doesn't exist.
Yeah, it's just the definition of some of these things, misogyny and this and that, and you're this because you feel this way about a certain thing. You know, that's expanded exponentially in the last few years. Like I just said, the sensitivity of people like
no, women never wanted to be told to put a muzzle on it. Like, women never wanted that.
How do you know?
What do you mean, how do I know?
How do
Because I've been hearing it my entire life, and
What,
it's
put a
never
muzzle on?
felt good. Like, I'm just saying, that's not a new phrase.
No.
It's been around for generations. It's never been positive. It's always been demeaning. It's always been belittling. That's nothing new. The fact that we're in a place right now where I'm the one on the radio that gets to say you're a douche for saying it, that was a dicky thing to say, and I know that you meant it. I could tell just by your delivery. You know what I mean? Because I've been on the other side of men like that. I've been on the other side of conversations like that, and I feel like I'm better for it. You know, I would never want to walk through the world with rose-colored glasses on, not believing, because again, you don't learn how to separate a person from a comment. Do you know what I'm saying? And we live in a world now. It's why people fall out over politics and really, really, really fall out, right? Like, there was a very long time where you could be opposing parties with good friends and you could have political conversation and it not end your friendship.
Absolutely.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
And there was also times where you could make all the decisions in your household and your wife was not considered a doormat.
I would love to know how many wives, though, wanted that or just went along with it. And I'm not talking about working. I'm talking about not having any say. You know, there's a reason why things have changed, and it's not because of the unmarried people.
Yeah, but I still don't.
Women started standing up for themselves.
Women started standing up for themselves. How?
What do
There's
you mean,
still
how?
plenty of wives
Calling
out there.
motherfuckers out for inappropriate behavior. It's not about you
But
can be a wife.
inappropriate behavior.
No.
Define inappropriate
Lenny,
behavior.
I don't know why you're acting like making the decisions in your household is a bad I don't know who's saying that to you. Like, you're now playing into the narrative. If you don't feel that way, then you don't feel that way.
No, I absolutely
and
don't feel
again,
that way.
as a person, if that is the life that you choose for yourself, like as a woman.
Yeah, but the way you're describing it is that these women weren't happy with it. Or
the women that have changed it, Lenny, weren't.
Okay,
There
the
are
women that
lots-
have changed it are single.
No, they're not. No, they're not. Because every wife that is married does not necessarily
Have a role to play in that marriage? and have, I mean,
what are you talking about? There are plenty of dual income working household. There are plenty of households where both parties make decisions together, financial decisions on parenting. So I don't know what you're talking about. Like you're painting.
I'm just talking about a more traditional household.
But traditional in comparison to what? Because then you have culturally too. Like you have plenty of cultures where women are, the matriarchs. Like they are
absolutely. They take care of the house.
The
house, the kids.
They take care of
that.
Family, they take care of older parents. They make decisions. They're the people that the family defers to when it comes to controversies in the family.
Yes, but if there is a matriarchal woman. And a man has veto power.
And how about
does that make them
your way
misogynist?
Your way isn't the right way. Your way isn't the only way.
No, absolutely.
And what I'm talking about isn't the only way. Your way isn't the right way. What I'm talking about isn't the right way. Like that's the other problem is that everybody wants to be sensitive about I've never once sat here and dragged stay-at-home wives or housewives.
Yeah.
Because that's a job I would never want. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, I understand the hours that go into that. Like, it's a job. It's a job. And if that is what you choose, that's what makes you happy, who the fuck am I to judge you for that? More power to you, sis. So long as you're not being beat, so long as you're not being belittled, so long as you have, some sort of independence, right? And you feel like if any of those things were to happen, you could walk away. Like, that's all that I want. You were to be beat, belittled, emotionally abused, that you have the financial ability. You understand what I'm saying? Like you're not being manipulated or abused financially. I'm all for it. Like that's the only thing that I wish for my sisters that want that life, right? Like is that none of those things are happening. Other than that, do you, boo. But then don't judge me for being a woman who wants to have a career or things like that. I know that you feel passionately, but that behavior is misogynistic. When you feel like put a muzzle on her, you wouldn't say that to a dude. You might say it to a gay man, but you wouldn't say it to a man you perceived as an alpha. You would not tell a man you perceived as an alpha to put a muzzle on it. You might tell him to shut the fuck up, but you wouldn't treat him like an animal. You muzzle animals. You don't muzzle people. So when you
if you said put a cork in it would have been all right.
That would have been less demeaning than put a muzzle on it.
I feel you.
That would have been less demeaning.
Better choice of words.
1,000%. But that's what I'm saying to you is that he clearly that's how he feels. And again, I'm not that's me taking it to an extreme. But at the end of the day, he was a part of the system that created the Britney we watched implode. And again, I'm not saying him personally, but I'm saying there were a lot of Timbalands in the industry. We saw that when Harvey Weinstein and the cronies came a crumbling and a tumbling. You know what I mean? Like when you start hearing those stories, oh my goodness. Why do I lose my names? But she won Best Supporting Actress for West Side Story, Latina, Puerto Rican. She's incredible. There's a documentary about her. She's an EGOT winner. I cannot believe I can't remember her name right now. Rita Moreno. Rita Moreno. She has a documentary out, and she talks about how her agent raped her. And she literally kept working with this man because that was just the nature of the bit. And she says it so stoically. I mean, she's had years to process and everything else. But you hear these stories repeatedly from women in the industry back then, right? The Judy Garland, Somewhere Over the Rainbow, you have this, not a Cinderella story, but we know the truth about that now, courtesy of she was hopped up on every pill under the fucking sun. Upper so that she could work crazy ass hours, downers when she was manic, you know what I'm saying? Like wild shit. Women were much more malleable back then and much more controllable and manipulate. What is that word? Manipulatable? I don't know. Malleable was probably a better word. But they were very easily manipulated.
Yeah, they were.
Because again, you were grateful to have the job, and I've been told that. Do you know how many people would love to have your job? Like, luckily, I've never had a cast and couch situation. I've always had incredible, management and leadership and things like that. Inappropriate comments, for sure, in this business, for sure. But again, I feel like it gives you a thicker skin.
Sticks and stones.
I was always also around guys. So locker room talk is second nature to me. You know what I'm saying? I'd be concerned if I heard any of my friends say something like grab him by the pussy. Do you know what I'm saying? Like in a, any of them will let you like watch. Like to me, it's like, no, you can't just go around grabbing women by the pussy. Like, but for a long time, men thought that they could. And women, like if you're not a woman, you'll never understand what it's like to be in a club and have somebody you don't know walk by and grab your ass. And you have to make a decision between pitching a fit and possibly getting hit, getting cussed out, getting the men that you're with in a fight, you know what I mean? Escalating a situation, or just taking a moment, woosahing and hitting the reset button. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how many men get their dicks grabbed unless they work at Le Bear's or are a male stripper. Like, my friends weren't just walking through nightclubs going around grabbing packages.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Women have dealt with that for forever. We've had the conversation here about, walking by a construction site and, they respond. And a lot of times we respond just to not be called a fucking bitch. You know what I'm saying? Like thank you or whatever. And you keep it moving just so that it doesn't escalate, because we've all been on the other side of it where you're like, what? Or you don't say anything and say, well, then fuck you, ho. You're not that cute anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like, men's egos can be very fragile in a lot of situations. And as women, again, we just bear the brunt of it. So that wasn't necessarily about cancel culture, but I would like for people just to own their shit, because we're doing a disservice to upcoming generations pretending like this shit doesn't exist. It's like when they want to have movies canceled. We've talked about Grease numerous times, right? Oh, Grease should be canceled. First of all, it's a period movie, guys. It was supposed to be in the 50s. Guess what was in the 50s? Segregation. Mm-hmm. So if you're wondering why you don't see any black people in the movie, you know what I'm saying? Or you don't see an exorbitant amount of them, or you don't see a whole lot of interracial couples, it's supposed to be taking place in the 50s.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Also, same thing goes for, there's no representation of the LGBTQ. It was illegal. It was illegal to be gay. So again, let's keep it all in perspective. Oh, sexual assault when he reaches around and he grabs her titty. They're at the drive-thru. Do you know what I'm talking about? And I'm like, but she bosses up. She literally elbows him, knees him in the groin, gets out of and leaves him stranded at the drive-in. There's a whole song about it. Stranded a fool. You know what I'm saying? Like, pretending like that shit didn't happen or doesn't happen is just wild to me. Like, so cancel.
I think that's a big part of people not really understanding history and trying to take bits and pieces of it. Try and take bits and pieces of it and portray it as wrong when it happened then. But that's just the evolution of the United States over the 225, whatever many years, 240 something years that we've been here.
But we've been in
But listen, the history, if you look at the history of everything this country has gone through and where it started and where it is today, you can't cancel the 50s. You can't cancel the 40s. You can't cancel the 30s. You can't say women in the 70s were, but it was the way it was. It was the evolution happening.
Well, exactly. But again, you hear stories from the horse's mouth about people being discontent, you know what I'm saying? Wanting more from life. Maybe Bridge wasn't it. And then the ones who loved it. There's a whole movie on, what is her name? She was working for the Nixon campaign. And do you know what I'm talking about? The white woman who spearheaded the anti-feminist, she's why we don't have actual gender equality in the Constitution. She was the person who, and she was a housewife from middle America, and that became her platform. But she wanted to be a politician, but that was her way in. And that was the thing that particular party felt like she could be the face of, and she ran with it, and she was effective. But when her moment came, President Reagan gave her a call and said, sorry, Toots, we're going in a different direction. And she ended up right back at home serving tea. But and meanwhile shooting a lot of other women in the foot along the way.
I'm just curious how many of these OnlyFans girls in 20 years are going to be coming out and going, well,
Crying.
I was forced to do OnlyFans, and I was forced to take all these pictures, and I was forced to do this. And I was it's like.
No, but my argument remains the same. Own your shit.
Yeah, but the entertainment industry was not a secret. It wasn't a secret that there was casting couches. The term casting couch comes from the entertainment industry. So if you're putting yourself into that position and then are surprised that you had to get on the casting couch.
Lenny, 13-year-old Brooke Shields didn't put herself in a position. A 13-year-old Britney Spears or a 14-year-old Justin Timberlake, who are members of the Mickey Mouse Club, don't put themselves in those situations. I understand what you're saying as far as adults go.
Yeah.
But again, there are also moments when you just want a man to be a good human being. Like, you want to take somebody at face value and say, hey, maybe they're offering me an opportunity. I'm not talking about a casting couch. I'm talking about some of the Weinstein situations. Hey, come on up, read with me or whatever. And the next thing you know, you're sitting at a doorway. And yeah, hindsight is 20/20. Don't go to some, you're
the door opens and the guy's standing there in a robe. You're going to walk in the door?
But again, when you're an established, this happened to established people who had, money and clout and the rest of it. Mm-hmm. And so I think some people just can't believe that an individual would have the gall or the nerve, right? Like, and on top of that, again, if you're not a woman, you will never understand
the pressure.
It's not about pressure. I'm not even talking about that. It's fear. It can be fearful to be in situations that you didn't see coming. You can trust people, and the next thing you know, you're like, okay, how do I... Again, like I said, it's like walking by the construction site and having to decide, do I engage to avoid escalation or do I ignore and hope that they get the message? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you're constantly forced with a choice of the lesser of two evils. Again, being in the club and being sexually assaulted. I mean, when you grab somebody's ass or you grab their titty or you come up and you stick your dick in their ass and they didn't ask for it, it's unsolicited. And I'm talking about like dancing, not actual... I don't want to talk about, I'm not saying penetration, but that's by definition assault. If you wanted to
if you're in a mosh pit and some guy's dick rubs on your ass, that's assault?
That's not,
you're on a dance floor.
Not what I'm talking
if
about,
you're on a dance floor at Live,
that's Len.
Some guy comes up behind you.
I'm fucking stupid. I hate when you do this because that's not what I'm talking about. No, I'm talking about the guy that walks up behind you unsolicited and grabs you by the hips and throws his penis into your ass. Like, which has happened to me on numerous occasions. Dancing with my homegirls and a rando will come up behind you. 15 years ago when I was in college, like, you didn't turn around and say, get the fuck off of me. Like, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, you moved away. You did all the things to not offend his fragile, sensitive ego because, again, I didn't want my boys to get in a fight. I didn't want to be called a bitch. I didn't want to get hit or... Because I've seen shit get wild. Like, this is a very real, scenario for a lot of women. It's like when you're on a date with somebody and they're the one driving. And it's a person that you know. Most rapes are rapes by people that you know. Which means you probably trusted the person. You know what I'm saying? And you trusted them to do the right thing and to be a good human being. So when you get drunk and pass out, yes, we should all make better decisions and we all need personal responsibility and accountability, right? But in that situation, when I know you and I trust you and you completely violate me when I'm out of my mind, who's really in the wrong in that situation?
Absolutely.
Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's a bigger conversation. And all I'm talking about is in this industry, yes, you walk into it hopefully with open eyes, right? Especially back then. As a child, I'm never going to judge child actors because I don't know what that was. And I feel like you should have parents that protected you. And in many cases, their parents did not. As a 20-year-old, I know kids in high school that went through what Britney went through with Justin. Do you know what I mean?
Of course.
And abortion is never an easy decision to make, whether you were coerced, whether it was something, even if you did it willingly and willfully, it's still not an easy thing to process for, I would say, 99% of women. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I'm going to be team Britney in this situation. I can also understand Justin at 21, at the beginning of his career, not wanting to be a parent, wear a condom, be on birth control.
They were both having sex. You made the choice to have sex. They both, I'm sure, were aware that If a sperm hits an egg, you get pregnant.
I mean, and I agree with you, but at the same token, it doesn't diminish or minimize the mental toll, like the toll that
The pressure
takes.
that was put on after.
And on top of that,
Yeah.
it's the woman that has to do it. It's never the man. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I'm sure there are men out there that could be watching this podcast going, I was in the reverse situation. I wanted a baby and my partner didn't, and she went and terminated the pregnancy, and I have to walk through life, knowing that I could have been a father, right? And that's heartbreaking too. So I don't want to minimize anybody's experience in that situation. But as a woman, when you're the one that has to go through that process and you wanted that child, we saw what it did to her. So with that being said, I'm glad that we've made strides. I'm glad that we can be more open about, things that happen in this industry and on college campuses and just in everyday life. This is not, specific to entertainment. But again, I also would like the world to know that there are still Timbalands out there. And there are still Lennys. And again, it takes all kinds to make the world work. Like, we don't live in a utopia. And the fact that people think that by canceling somebody, you can automatically mitigate bad behavior.
And there's still women out there that want men to be that
100.
That role
there are still
in their
women
life.
that are more than willing to get on a casting couch. Like, there are women in this world that will use what they've got to get what they want and make no qualms about it. You know what I mean? And if you took that away from them tomorrow, they'd be outraged.
Yeah.
You feel me? So I understand that there's double standards and there's moving pieces to all of this. Again, as far as cancel culture goes, though, it does a disservice across the board in so many ways. Again, just by canceling one person does not mitigate this mindset. It doesn't eliminate this type of behavior or thought process. And pretending like it does is exactly how we have ended up in this ridiculous shit show that we call, society at this point, right? Where half of us are ridiculously sensitive and think everything, you know what I mean? Everybody should respect, and respect, again, yes, I think as human beings, everybody deserves respect, right? But you have to walk through life knowing that there are people that are going to disagree with you, that there are people that are not going to support the decisions that you make in your life, that there are people who are not going to like you. You know what I mean? And if we keep throwing out these apologies willy-fucking-nilly, we also now minimize what a real apology is, because when somebody
accepting that apology is the
well, that's a problem, though.
That's the problem.
But
people are going to always backpedal.
But
that's their defense
They will,
mechanism.
but some people, I have the ultimate respect for Will Smith, right? He did what he did with Chris Rock, and then he took his time, right? He didn't really address the situation. He got missing for a minute. He was getting a lot of heat, but he didn't issue an apology until much later down the line. I mean, he could have come out the very next day and said it was a joke, said, oh, my bad, it was misinterpreted. He could have done all those things, and he didn't. He stood by what he did. Some people fully supported it. Others were like, what the fuck was that? You know what I mean? We all here got a I hate to say, a laugh out of it. And it was like, was it real? Was it fake? Like, we had that conversation on this podcast. But I can respect that more, because apologies are supposed to come when you've taken the time to self-reflect, right? And you've really looked inward and gone,
where did that come from?
I was wrong in this particular instance, right? And I understand why you felt the way you felt, or why you disagreed, and I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry for the hurt or the pain that I caused you. And I don't think that happens in 12 hours.
No.
Especially not when you sat on a stage and we're kiki.
It happens.
That's how you felt.
It happens when your audience.
And he's mad.
It happens when his Instagram blows up.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want an apology because you're mad that people got mad at you.
Yeah, that's not a reflection.
So
that's a reaction.
I'm over it. Like, stop trying to cancel people because you disagree with them. Disagree with them.
Change the channel. Change the fucking channel.
Well, or
don't listen to them.
Or have the conversation and try to get a little better understanding of where they're coming from. Again, you don't ever have to agree. I don't ever have to agree with Lenny, but we can come here week in and week out and sit on this couch and have conversations where we disagree
75 fucking times. What the fuck is wrong with us?
And imagine all the time in between. But it's out of control. And at the end of the day, you're really not canceling anybody.
We clearly both like dysfunctional relationships.
No comment. And I'm sure somebody will want to cancel us for that. You're promoting toxic behavior. Fuck it.
Fuck you.
You know what? I stand by it and I don't apologize for it. But anyway, that's my 2 cents on cancel culture. Again, Tim, I think you're a great musician. I think you're a genius. I think you're a phenomenal producer. I just think you're a bit of a dick. That's all. And
That's
please
cool.
don't apologize for that.
All right, everybody. Kimmy's going to put a muzzle on, and we're going to move on.
Fuck off. I'm going to put a muzzle on you. Oh, my God. We'll see you next time if I don't kill Lenny first. Remember, like, subscribe, share, and follow. Make sure you leave your comments. I'm sure you will have plenty. And, again, we'll talk to you later. I don't know what that was.
Peace.
I was like...